is up, you guys, and welcome back to the Rain from Within podcast. Y'all, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for all of the love from the first, from launch, basically. I launched with the pilot episode and episode 1 of What Does It Mean to Find Your Rain, and the first episode for me was just something so close to my heart, and I'm just so happy that so many of you responded and or reached out and let me know how you needed it, or it's just oh my goodness, it was just such a beautiful thing to hear. If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see my dog back and forth, and I'm a little concerned with filming during the daytime because my girl, she likes to bark at lizards and birds. I mean, a lot of dogs do, but my window here is out to the backyard, and basically she'll see lizards a lot or birdies flying by, especially because the weather's changing. If it kind of feels like spring is in full effect right here in Florida. So I'm just hoping I won't have to edit out any barking, but we're gonna roll with it. Y'all, like I said, I'm filming during the daytime because this is the same day of this episode going live, because this week has been so chaotic. Okay, it's been so much, but apart from this week being chaotic, dude, just yesterday and today has been nuts, insane. Because for one, okay, so actually no, the story overall is basically my car is not responding to my key fob. So my car is keyless entry, and when I walked up to my car yesterday, at the end of my work day, it wouldn't open. And I'm like, okay, no biggie. So I used the remote to try to open it. Still not opening. Oh, what is happening? Sorry. Still not opening. Still kind of just being annoying. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I call my service department and I'm like, hey, this and this is happening, blah blah. He's like, oh, okay, maybe your battery went dead. And honestly, I did think about the key fob battery going dead, because duh, that's the obvious choice. But I just got this car a few months ago. If you know me, I literally got this car, I want to say it was in October. So why would the key fob already be dead? One. And two, usually you kind of start to notice that your key's gonna die, because it'll start lagging or something, but you can kind of tell when it's time to change the battery of a remote, and that's pretty much any remote that you use in life. But whatever. So basically that was happening. So I had to call roadside assistance and get them to open my car door at the very least, because I was like, I don't know what my thought process was. All I know was I called roadside and they sent me, it's they send you a text and you fill out a form of what you need, and I put that I was locked out the car, but I had the key, whatever. So he comes and he's like, you have the key. I'm like, I do. So the thing is that is happening, blah blah blah. He opens the car and he's like, try to turn it on. I'm like, okay. And here's the gag, it works. The car turned on. So basically a keyless entry car is if the key's not in the car or it's not reading the key, it won't drive. But my car turned on and it was driving. But I had to leave the key on the sensor inside the car in order for it to drive, which is okay. So whatever. Thankfully my sensor is located in the cup holder. So I just put the key in the cup holder. Fine. But I couldn't lock the car. He's like, just don't lock it. And I'm like, cool, I can't even lock it. My only fear was if the car auto locked, but came to find out it does not auto lock. So it's fine. So whatever. So I'm thinking, all right, no big deal. I have a spare and it's time to go get a battery. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of troubleshooting with. Cool. So I come home in the evening and I go to grab my spare so I can lock the car, and it's not responding to that key either. And I'm like, what is going on? So needless to say, I called the service department the next morning. It was this morning. This was all yesterday. I called them this morning and I told them, I spoke to someone yesterday. So that same guy was there today. I spoke to him again, let him know what was going on, the update on everything. And he was like, oh, okay, well, are you able to bring it in? Yeah, definitely bring it in. And if anything is really an issue, then we'll just give you a loaner. Cool. I'm like, all right, awesome. I have a great relationship with that dealership and like my salesman and like all the people there. So I never have a problem going, except that I had so much to do today, including this. But it's okay. We pivot and continue, right? So I'm sitting in the dealership doing what I got to do. I'm talking to the people. I was going through some homework and stuff, whatever. So service provider comes to me and tells me, all right, we're going to have to give you a loaner. I'm like, okay, do you need anything for your vehicle? And I go to get the insurance for him, yada yada. So as I'm walking with him, he's like, yeah, there's definitely. So I'm like, so it wasn't just the fob battery. And he said, no, there's definitely something wrong. And they're trying to figure it out. You're calling the manufacturer and trying to figure out. Yeah, so now we're riding in a loaner, which is kind of cool because the cool part about getting rentals and loaners is experiencing new cars and stuff. He's like, oh, we don't have any of the same car you have, but we have like these and these. And one of them I had previously, so I was like, can I get like the sedan? Because I want to try this car. And so he's like, yeah, we could do that. So yeah, so now I get to drive in a loaner vehicle for a couple days, and Lord willing, everything is okay with my car and I can get her back soon. I love my car, but I trust in God's plan, and I trust that there's a reason this happens, and I'm just kind of rolling with the punches. And I'm just grateful they were able to give me a loaner, because the last time my car was in service a couple months ago, my tire blew. Like, oh, girl, that's a whole other issue. Like, it was so random. Like, it happened like on my way to work, and I was like 2 exits away from my job, and the tire just, whatever, long story. So but when I got towed to the dealership closest over there, oh my gosh, it was so chaotic, and it was just so much going on. They had no loaners, they had no rentals. It was too much. It was way too much. So I didn't have a car for a few days, but it was fine. Thankfully, my sister was home. She was able to come get me, blah blah blah. Anyway, the point is that we're trusting in him and believing that he's in control. And I get to drive a loaner for a few days, and it's going to be great. So it is a little bit of an adjustment because my last 2 cars were SUVs, and even in SUV, like, it's an SUV, so it's already lifted. I lift up the chair so I can be even more elevated. They gave me a sports sedan, so the seat's like riding real low. It's cool, but it's just an adjustment. But yeah, so that's like the biggest update that I have for you guys. What else? I'm currently in a place where I am there's a lot happening, but for the best. And also, I'm just really grateful, guys. I just started a new session of classes, and I'm loving it. For those who don't know, I am in school for ministerial leadership. Oh my gosh, I say ministerial leadership, and it reminds me of my website. Okay. So I know in the previous episode, I told you guys that you can go to rainfromwithin.com to catch the written form of this episode, prayer requests, all that stuff, all that greatness. So that's another thing I've been dealing with. Like, the devil is such a liar. He is so bored. He's big mad. Okay. So my website itself is up and running, but my domain which is the URL that I purchased, I'm having trouble connecting them. And I think it's partially my fault because I previously had my URL connected to my link tree, and basically I disconnected it. I'm trying to reconnect it to the site I built, whatever. Basically, it's just been such a headache. That's also on my to-do list, to call customer service, because I cannot understand what else I can do to get this to work. But nonetheless, what I did do is I used the built-in domain provided by the website builder, and attached it to my bio site. So if you follow me on Instagram, the podcast Instagram to be exact, the link in bio has like a full bio of all the platforms that I have. I keep saying we, y'all know that. That I have the podcast streaming on, as well as the link to the actual blog. So just, if you're interested, go take a look at it there. I'll have the link to the bio site / the link tree. I use bio site, but it's a link tree, in the description bar if you're watching the YouTube video. I'm gonna see if I can throw it into the show notes. I hope I remember doing that. And if I don't, call me out. Like, just let me know. But yeah, it's on Instagram. And I'm sorry for the confusion, because I had a couple people reach out to me like, your website's not working. And I'm like, thank you for trying to visit the website. But yeah, so that was frustrating. So yeah, I am in school for ministerial leadership, and so basically my school does classes like 6 weeks at a time, like a series of classes. We are in the second series of classes, so I took a total of 4 classes this semester, and yeah, so we're in the last two, and then my spring break is next week, so grateful for that. But I'm still gonna try to power out through some assignments so that I'm not. I want to get ahead. Like, I want to be one of those people that work ahead in their assignments, because it's like all in there, on the website that they have. So there's that. And then Easter's coming up so fast, guys. Like, oh my goodness. I have a bridal shower to go to next weekend, and also then Easter. Gotta like figure out, what am I wearing. Like, do y'all know how? I want to know, y'all, how far in advance do you plan your Easter outfit? Because there are people that really be like planning this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that's pretty much all of the updates I can remember. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more, but that's all I can remember as of right now. Anyhow, y'all, so I wanted to get into, actually, speaking of life and update and just being super content where I'm at, I really wanted to dive into the concept of timelining my life, how I used to really idolize marriage, just really focusing in being appreciative of the single season, and all around what I've learned in my 20s thus far. So okay, so let's start. I have a couple points here. So if you see me looking this way, I'm looking at my computer, which is why I have my glasses on. Like, I really wanted to not wear my glasses filming this, especially when I have the ring light. Today I have natural light, but especially when I have the ring light, because you see the ring in my glasses, but your girl can't see. I can. So I'm gonna use my glasses because I cannot see. So anyhow, okay, so a couple of things that I wrote down here. So before 25 versus now. So for context, I am now 26 years old, and I am loving it so much. I swore. Okay, one thing I wrote down here is I swore I had it together when I was 21. Okay, I swore I had it together when I was 18. All those like main milestones, I'm like, I got this in life. No, I didn't. Okay, at 21 years old, I thought I was ready for marriage. I thought I was ready with my career path, and I thought that I was a full adult. I'm like, okay, I'm 21. I'm for sure a full adult. No big deal. No. No. Truly, I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a single clue what life was. And honestly, and I'm not saying, and disclaimer, I'm not saying that if you're 21 and you're like married and on your career path, obviously that's possible for some people, but for me, I wasn't all there at that time, and frankly, God's still working on me, and honestly, God's going to continue doing that, and God continues to grow you and work on you even when you get married. Like, that's never going to end, but this is something that I just had to come to terms with, right? And that theory, it's not a theory, I want to say it's scientifically proven that before 25, like, your brain isn't fully developed, and then when you turn like 25 years of age is when your frontal lobe is fully developed, and that's like your full cognitive, like, decision making and all that stuff. I should have done a little bit more research on exactly what that means, but that whole concept of your brain not being fully developed until you're 25, oh my gosh, when I say that I literally felt the difference, like, and I'm not saying like on the day I turned 25, like, wow, I feel so much brighter. No, but like, I really realized that in that year, I started to process things differently, and call it a placebo, call it whatever you want. But I've also witnessed it in people around me. Like, I've had people like in my proximity where I watch them go from thinking one way to, after they're 20, like 25 and beyond, they think a whole different way. They process, they react completely differently than they used to. And so truly, I fully believe in that. So I want to dive into like why I thought I was ready for marriage versus why I've concluded that I'm not, right? So when I was 21, I was in a relationship that we were fully convinced we were going to get married. We were, looking at rings, like, we really loved each other. And the thing is that it was moving really quickly. And again, I'm not discrediting the fact that some people do have that. And I do believe that I would be one of those people that have a relationship that move rather quickly. And I've always believed that, which is why it wasn't weird to me. But so we were talking about all that, but there was a lot of boxes that weren't checked off. And, as far as me personally, like, my growth, there was a lot of growing to do. There was a lot of processing and understanding who Bianca was before ever thinking I could get married, right? And ever thinking that it was even time for me to even think about that, to look at that, like whatever. Because there were so many. I think back at my 21-year-old self, now at my 26-year-old self, and I'm like, girl, who did you think you were? Like, truly and honestly, like, why? Because I don't even know if I can give you an example, but true, like, I guess the biggest thing I could say is it's just the way I would process, the way I handled conflict, the way I handled being present, the way I allowed things to distract me. And it's like not having a discipline of, you can, like, you can do more than one thing at once. And also, right within that, the whole career, they usually kind of have like their own thing going on, and both of them are either walking in the career path, um, or have an idea of where they want to go, or have an offer to go there, so that's when they get married, things like that. So typically younger couples that get married young, it's because they got the opportunity for the rest of their lives already presented to them at that young age, right? And again, that's like typical, on like a good perfect level, I guess you would say. Yeah. So me personally, I wasn't there. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted. I had no idea what my purpose was, my calling was. I had no idea where I was going. Like, I had no clue. For me to sit here and just assume that, you know what, like, yeah, I'm gonna get married and then figure it all out later. And then frankly, I mean, I can't speak for him either, but I don't know that he was there either. Like, we just knew that we wanted to get married. Like, he had his own dreams and stuff, and I did have dreams, but not yet did my dreams have anything to do with having a partner yet. And again, I can't speak for him, but I could, like I said, this was someone I really loved. So like, I'm not speaking ill on him, but like, perhaps he wasn't ready at that time either. You know what I mean? I just feel like we were just really like in this place where we really thought we had it together. We weren't even there yet, you know? And thinking I was a full adult, girl, I thought I was a full adult. And when I say that, is like, again, it kind of goes in hand with like the whole, girl, you had no idea what you're even doing. Like, I don't even know what I want out of life. Like, things like that. That's what I mean about being a full adult. Like, I feel like adulthood is constantly evolving, constantly learning, constantly trying to get to know yourself, constantly trying to like figure out what works best, and just figuring it out. Like, literally, adulthood is all about just trying to figure it out. And it's just, man, it's okay. And basically, when I say like that switch went off, I feel like the switch went off in the sense where I was like able to realize that I was tripping. Straight up. Like, I was able to look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? What was I trying to like prove? Like, who was I trying to prove it to? Because, sis, who was rushing you is really the question. Like, who? Why? Like, okay. And then that's what I'm talking about when I say timeline. I had this, okay, I'm gonna dive into that a little bit. I'm like notorious for creating this unheard of timeline on my life. Like, no one ever said that you have to be this age when you do this, you have to do this when at this time, you have to, like, like, no one said that. Yes, society kind of places these quote unquote pressures on us as far as being like 24, 25, with married with children. But here's the thing that I fail to understand is, I guess if you're writing a story, then ideally that would be the timeline you use, because that's what we understood. And honestly, back in the day, that's kind of like how it worked. Like, between 20 and 25, people were building their whole lives. Like, they were buying houses, having kids, and this. But also, we live in a very different world now. And also, like, people, the way, if we're looking at it plainly, the way people lived back then versus how we live now, they started working much earlier. They had a lot of more life exposure at an earlier age. So, like, basically, as time evolves, we had to release those societal norms of being a certain age. And apart from releasing what society's saying, fully understand that not everyone's timeline is the same. Fully understand that God's calling on your life and your purpose here is your own. Your purpose here is yours. Like, God has a plan for you. It doesn't matter what Tom, Dick, and Harry are doing, because what they're doing is what God's calling them to do, not what Bianca to do. And so that's what I had to, and I feel like that's something that took me so long to finally get a grip on, was that, Bianca, it doesn't matter what Sally Sue is doing, because that's Sally Sue's, that's God's plan for Sally Sue. It has nothing to do with God's plan for me. And I had to really learn how to release that, because it was really hindering me, because it started to affect generally, like, my own happiness. I started to really rob myself of experiences, happiness, and just friendships and community, because I wanted to focus on finding the one, or focus on getting married, or just focus on this. And then here's the thing, my aspect and my desire for marriage was all twisted, because I wanted marriage, but I was lacking the aspects of becoming a woman. Like, I was lacking the aspects of just growing up. I was lacking the aspects of, really, really, like, getting a grip on where I'm going, where career is going, where we're walking into, like, the season, like, like, basically I was living in this haze and constantly looking beyond what's right in front of me. In the first episode, I touched base on being present as much as possible, and how I had to get really intentional about learning how to be present. And this was something that took me forever to understand. And even that is something that proves to me how, Bianca, like, this was your own journey, because even learning how to be present took its own journey, and it still does. Like, I'm very intentional when I'm sitting down listening to someone, when they're talking to me, or like they just want to process with me, or if I'm processing with someone, like, just being present to engaging this conversation and just being there is something that takes, I'm not gonna say it takes energy, but it takes actually paying attention. You know what I mean? And that was something that, again, like, because I was setting up a timeline, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late for a very important date, I was giving, like, what's the character? It was not the Mad Hatter. It was, whatever the character was from Alice in Wonderland with the little stopwatch. Always in a hurry, like, just being in a hurry. Like, I always want to just rush and rush. That robbed me from experiences. That robbed me from fully surrendering the control to God, honestly. Because, see, again, I told you guys before that I've been a Christian my whole life, but it took me really going through a lot of emotional torment and up and down and all this stuff to really remember who God is, and the fact that God does want what's best for you. He does have the best plans for you, and greater are the plans he has for me, and to realize that he has plans for you that are, to prosper you and not for harm, but to just do, like, he has a plan for you, basically. And it took me so long to get to a place where I'm like, wow, I was really messing this up for myself, So timelining my life, really, I'm setting myself up on a timeline, and throughout all that, I'm robbing myself of time. Isn't that, like, the irony is crazy, because you set up your timeline. Think about that. You set up your timeline. You're like, okay, by this time, I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this and that. But the whole time, you're robbing yourself of time. That's like sick. Like, that don't even make no sense, okay? I honestly thought, like, I'm 26 now. I honestly told myself, I thought younger me would be baffled at 26-year-old me being single, okay? Because I thought at 26 I was going to be married, have a kid, buy a house. Sounds all good and dandy, No, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. It was a slow tread race to get to a place of accepting it, and it took an even longer time, not just to accept it, but to embrace and love it. You know, like embracing singleness and loving your singleness is it's like you gain this new level of clarity and peace. I'm going to say like peace is the word for that, because you come to a place where you're like, I'm at peace. You know, I'm at peace knowing that if I'm not married yet, it's for a reason. And if I haven't met anyone yet, it's for a reason. And that when I do, it'll be for a reason. And when I get married, it will be for a reason. And when you start to think about life in that perspective, when you start to really shift your thought process on everything truly happens for a reason. Like there are people that just kind of say it, oh, everything happens for a reason. And I know a lot of people, like, you would hear that and be like, everyone says that, you know? But stop and really think about that phrase. Like, everything really truly does happen for a reason. Like, God truly does have a purpose and intention for everything that he does, or everything he allows. Because let's remember, God doesn't always just do in our life. Sometimes he allows things in our life to occur to get us to a better place or to teach us something. And it's not so much teaching, it's like allowing you to see that he is better, that he is greater, that he's got you, he has you in his hands, you know? And that's really what it's about. Like, you really have to stop and think, okay, what one thing that I heard it somewhere, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you like where it was I heard it, but it was something along the lines of, oh my gosh, it's gone. Anyway, but basically, God really has a purpose for everything he does, everything he moves. Like, when you start to move in that thought process, things get better, you know? So with all that, with the timelining thing, that starts to also hinder your ability to celebrate others. It starts to really make you think, well, that's not fair. Like, how come them, not me? How come her, not me? How come he, not me? You know? And it's hard to be honest with yourself and think about that. Like, you don't want to admit that you're jealous. You don't want to admit that you're jealous. Like, you could wish well on someone and still be jealous, you know what I mean? Like, there can be just like this little like of jealousy or something like that, and even that will rob you of properly celebrating someone and properly understanding, like, wow, you're in this season and this is the season God has ordained for you to get married, and I love that for you. Like, you know, and just genuinely celebrate that someone is celebrating something that they've been dreaming of, you know. And I realized that, like, there came a point where, and then gratefully, it didn't last too long, but hearing people like get engaged or seeing people get engaged and stuff left and right really started to weigh on me more heavily than ever. And this was a season that a lot of people in my circle, like, that's how I know I'm like, I officially reached the age where everyone around me is getting engaged. Everyone. And I'm talking about even people like younger than me, like these kids that I remember babysitting them in church, like when they were babies. I remember taking care of them when they were like 3, 4, 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people that I used to, like, you know, they're getting engaged. And then on top of that, people that are my age, they're getting engaged. And then, you know, like, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because, and I didn't whoa, whoa, whoa till like way later. But in the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's not fair. I'm like, that's not fair. How come she got engaged? She don't even, you know, like, just talking all this smack. And then also, like, I'm like, y'all just started dating. Like, are you kidding me? Do y'all even really like each other? Like really hater vibes. Like, I'm telling you straight up, like, I was just being a straight up hater. Like, not that any of it made any kind of sense. I was just being a hater, straight up, right? And then I had this one friend where she was like my childhood friend growing up, and we went to college together for a little bit and everything. When she got engaged too, I was like, oh my gosh, bro, because at this point it felt like it hit home a little bit closer. I was like, oh my gosh, her and I were like this at one point. We're like the same. Well, she's about, I think she's a year older than me, but still, even so, like, she got engaged and I was like, oh my gosh. And I think at that point is where I was like, okay, God, something's got to give. Like, everyone else getting engaged is whatever. Now this feels like so hard, like hit close to home. And mind you, I love her and I did genuinely congratulate her, and I was really, really happy for her, and I still am, and I love that for her. At the time, I did feel that, but at the same exact time, I felt like in my heart, like, oh my gosh, that's not fair. And then so gratefully, at that moment, I was able to capture the thought, take it captive and give it to God. I was literally able to be like, okay, God, no, like I cannot feel this way every time someone gets engaged. Like something's really got to give. And so I was like, you know what, God, like I surrender it to you. I'm like, I need to do better, blah, 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 right? A couple months later, one of my little cousins, she's a grown woman, one of my younger cousins ends up getting engaged. And this was the first time that I didn't feel that, like that, I guess you would say resentment. I was genuinely excited because I love her so much. She's my first cousin, and I love her fiance. He's a great guy. And so when her mom had texted me like, hey, it's a surprise, but she's getting engaged, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember getting that text message. I was in Hobby Lobby with my sister and my mom, and like my heart like dropped a little bit, and I was like, it's like I didn't know how to feel. I'm like, whoa, it's happening. And I was like, because I knew it was coming, but when it happened, I was like, okay, she's getting engaged, awesome, whatever. So then when we get to the engagement party, like we're waiting for her to get there, blah blah blah, genuinely I was so happy for her. I was emotional. Like I truly love my cousin so much, and she's just such a beautiful person, and she's grown into this beautiful young lady who's beautiful inside and out, has this plethora of amazing community around her. Okay, and then that's the thing I want to focus on here is the community. So I'm in this warehouse thing because it was like kind of like one of the warehouses that they converted into like an area for the young adults. So we were all in there waiting on them, and I'm looking at all of their friends, and I'm really looking at how many people are in this room, and I'm looking at the slideshow that they have of them, and I just had this really emotional moment where I was like, wow, she's so loved. Like all these people came out to celebrate their love, and I was like, people just love her so much, whatever. So my cousin comes, and I'm literally crying, like I'm just so excited for her. And then so cool, then that's over. The next morning I had told her to send me, because she did the video of like she thought she was getting engaged, whatever, and I was like, I want you to do the video, send me the clips, I'll edit it for you, and we'll go from there. And so in the morning I'm sitting there kind of reflecting and editing the video, and I'm crying editing the video because it was just so cute. But I had a moment where I want to say the Holy Spirit like revealed to me, the Holy Spirit really revealed to me, Bianca, you need friends. And I was like, wow, I need friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm over here crying about people getting engaged and getting upset about not being in a relationship where, guys, and if you don't know this, like I've been here for a little bit over a year now, but we just moved 40 minutes away, 40 minutes, like 2-3 hours away from where we used to live. And basically I had to like kind of restart everything up here. And yeah, and just making friends was a really slow tread until it wasn't. So basically that was my revelation of understanding. I was like, wow. And then I'd said to myself, okay, Bianca, let's get real for a second. If all was perfect, all went well, you met somebody and, started dating, got engaged, who is in your corner? Like superficially, beyond the actual like important part of having community as far as you as a person, superficially speaking, I'm thinking, okay, and if I did get engaged, would I have all these people who genuinely love me and want to support me in my corner? Like, oh my gosh, I need friends. And I'm like, you know what? Immediately right there, I stopped and I said, okay, God, I need friends, God. Like, bring me community. Like, I need community is what I needed, you know? And when I tell you guys that, guys, God answers that prayer. If you ask God for community and you ask God for friends, for like real friends that will love you and that serve the Lord with you, God will bring those friends to you. God will bring those friends, and He really does answer that prayer, because that happened in September. And around the same time, I had recently met like this brother and sister, and they ended up introducing me to so many people between September and November. I met so many people, and in November hosted a 40 plus guest list of friendsgiving at my house with all these people that it was just so much love in here, and God really did his things. I was praying over that friendsgiving as far as I wanted everyone to feel love coming in here, and it was amazing. And then in December I was able to have so many like little Christmas get-togethers with my friends, and basically, and then now we're in March, and yeah, my friends are solid. Like, that group is solid, and it's just been growing ever since. And truly, I've come to a place where I'm just so grateful for these people in my life that and when I reflect on it, I'm like, wow, God really answered that prayer. Like, it was like clockwork, and it's all it took was for me to say, God, I need friends, or like, God, okay, this is what I need. So like, my whole perspective shift really changed my life, and that's really what it was. And then it helped me come to the place of being okay with singleness. It helped me come to a place of understanding that singleness is something to embrace. And I don't want to say like singleness is a gift, because I know everyone hates when people say that, including myself. Like, I'm just like, okay, yes, I know that singleness is a gift, okay, thank you. But truly, it is something to embrace. It is something to appreciate, because in this season, dude, like, you can literally focus on yourself. You can literally just think about what you got to get done. You can literally think about, I don't know, but I can't even think of all the things. But like, in this season, you have so much time to really gain perspective, pay off your debts, and really just like really think about what you want to do moving forward. And then if and when the time comes, and again, if and when the time comes, God will send someone that will compliment you, but you have to be 100%. That whole 50-50 thing is cute in theory, as something just to be said. But realistically speaking, a relationship does not succeed unless both parties are 100% whole. And when you're 100% and you bring another person that's 100%, then you come together and you can flourish. Because, we're not always going to feel 100%, right? There's this whole 80-20, like, your husband and wife, like, hey, I only got 80% today. All right, well, I only have 20. Okay, cool, we make 100. There's like that whole thing concept. But in general, when I say being 100%, I mean being fully confident in who you are, where God is taking you, what God has called you to do and to be, and really learning that God is your first source. Really learning that, going to God about your problems, because when you start to practice that habit in your singleness, when you get married, it's going to be secondhand nature that if something goes wrong, you're going to God first. You're not going to your friends to gossip. You're not going to the internet to read gossip columns. You go to God, like, hey, God, I need to surrender this to you, because I don't know how to handle your daughter, handle your son, And so in your singleness, you get the opportunity to practice these good habits. You get the opportunity to practice the habit of productivity, waking up early, and ultimately surrendering it all to God. So all of this goes into play with ultimately surrender. I feel like God in this time, collectively, across the board, of people that I know and I've gotten a chance to speak to, I feel like God is trying to tell us to surrender it all. Like, we live in such a high speed society. We live in such a instant gratification society. We live in a society that just constantly wants to make you be moving like the Energizer Bunny at all times. And it's like, kind of like, that's okay until it's not. Because then when you start reaching the burnout, when you start reaching frustration, when marriages are falling apart, and people are just driving themselves crazy, we need to learn how to surrender what is out of our control. Control what you can control. Do your part. Organize yourself, get your rest, do what you have to do, go to God, prayer, Bible study, be intentional about how you live your life. It's all about intentionality. You've really got to dive in and be intentional about where you're going and what you're doing. And then God can step in and do your part, and then God can step in and do his part. Because if you surrender it all to him, God can do the work, but you have to do your part and do your work and be intentional in the movement, and then surrender everything else to him. And that's something that walk, my walk with the Lord is like, it's constant. Like I said, it's like I said in the other episode, if you're not growing, you're dying. It's a constant evolution. Every single day is a battle. Every single day there's a new hurdle to overcome. Every single moment there is a decision to be made on how you handle a situation. We can all fall short. We can all stumble. All of that happens, and it's an ongoing battle. But God is a merciful God. He is merciful, and he knows the troubles that we will endure. He knows the temptation we will endure. But the Bible says that there is no temptation that you will come across that God doesn't give you a way out of, and that God is so present, and he is there with you through it all. All we have to do is quite literally just say, God, I give this to you, because I can't do it. Like, in my own strength, I cannot do this. So all in all, what I've learned in my 20s, going back to like with the actual point of the whole episode, this is like a big lump sum of what I can say that I've learned thus far. And I'm so grateful. I'm in a season now in my life where I've never been more content. I have so much going on, but I fully believe that everything that I have on my calendar and on my to-do list is fully ordained by the Lord. And so I always tell myself, I remind myself, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I have to say that, and I say, God, I surrender this day to you. Every single morning I wake up and I say, God, I give it all to you. I give you my heart. I give you my mind. I give you my calendar. I give you all of the plans that I have, Lord. I surrender them all to you. And truly, that is what gets me through the days, and that is what is pushing me to continue going and to honestly keep me excited, because I know that if something happens, like today, all of this chaos happened with my car. So like I said earlier, we don't panic, we pivot. You pivot and you try to make it work as best as you can. You do what you can to be the best that you can, and you give him the rest and you let him do. So all in all, guys, I just want to encourage you that if you're in a season of not understanding where you're going in life, just keep going. Really write things down, process things, speak to someone that you confide in. If you need prayer, again, it's going to be below my website. You can fill out that information. So I have your name, and I can pray for you, and I can reach out. If you want to reach out, if you want to DM me on Instagram too, I can be there with you. I can encourage you as much as I can, as much as I able to, and just be in your corner. I really just want you guys to understand that you're not alone, and that there's so much greater. And if you are watching this, hearing this podcast, you are still here. You have a purpose. You are here for a reason. You are called, and you have a purpose. I already said that, but it just all in all, guys, I just really wanted to convey this message. This message was really on my heart to share, because it's just been a whirlwind. I was actually debating on doing this now, or should I just say my birthday, because I turned 27 this year, yada yada. But I'm like, you know what, bump it. I'm just gonna do it now. And I'll probably do a revised version later, because we have a couple months till then. We have 2 months actually. My birthday's in 2 months. My birthday's in May. Yeah, so all in all, guys, I hope this episode is a blessing to you, and I hope that you were able to take something away from this. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. I'm really praying that I didn't really show scatterbrain so much in this episode. So I feel like I did. But all in all, that is the message I really want you guys to fully appreciate, really bask in where you are, take it all in, learn as much as you can from where you're at, be present, be intentional. If you get nothing else from this episode, what I want you to really take away is to move with intention. Be so intentional with everything that you do, and surrender it all to God, and everything else will fall in place. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not, you should. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the podcast for more episodes. Also, guys, as of right now, I'm thinking of posting every Friday. However, after this week, I'm thinking that was a little bit aggressive for this season, so I might be moving to every other Friday. But no less, it will be on Fridays, and you can stay up to date on that information on the Instagram page. So head over there, follow us, the Rain from Within podcast on Instagram, and my personal Instagram is Lorena Bianca. But yeah, so I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for riding this ride with me, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.